righty, welcome everybody. Welcome. Let me get my drink out of the shot here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I am Joe Amditas. I'm Associate Director of Operations here at the Center for Cooperative Media, and this is one of our monthly press briefings for local, hyperlocal community and ethnic media in New Jersey. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Dave Cole. He is the Chief Innovation Officer for the state of New Jersey and a member of Governor Murphy's cabinet. In his role, Dave leads the Office of Innovation and its mission. My cat is in front of the camera. I'm sorry. Come here, bud. Dave leads the Office of Innovation in its mission to drive innovation in the government and improve the design and delivery of policies and services to New Jersey residents, businesses, and institutions. He's literally blocking my script here that I wrote. Sit down. There we go. Good boy. Dave joined the Office of Innovation in 2020 to help the state respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, where he served as technology co-lead for New Jersey's vaccination program. He also co-founded and led the Resident Experience Initiative, collaborating with state agencies to design and implement digital services for new policies and programs. Prior to get off the desk. Prior to his work in New Jersey, Dave served as senior advisor to the chief information officer and deputy director of new media during President Obama's first term, where he introduced open source technology to the White House. Dave is a New Jersey native and a Rutgers University graduate, and today he will be presenting the newly published 2025 Impact Report from the New Jersey Office of Innovation, highlighting how the state is using technology and human-centered design to improve services for New Jerseyans, from Summer EBT access to business permitting to state agency call centers. Dave, I want to thank you so much for joining us. The way we'll do this is go ahead. We'll have you talk and present the report, talk about your work, tell us what you do, what we should be focused on as members of the media. And then if once you wrap up, we'll leave it open for Q&A for the reporters on the call. For those of you on the call, you should know that this is being recorded. You will receive a copy of the recording, as always, along with an auto transcript, a link to the impact report, which I'm going to post in the chat in a moment, and any other resources. And Dave, what do we call it? Is it okay to call you Dave? I feel like it's a very formal,
Dave, absolutely.
Okay. As well as contact information for your office, if you are okay with that, so that reporters can follow up if they don't get time to get to their questions. If we end up going a little bit longer, this is an hour, so if we end up getting towards the 11:40-ish mark, I'll gently nudge you to open up for questions if we're still going, but I have full faith and confidence. And if anybody has any technical issues, or if you want your question to be answered, you can put them in the chat, or you can wait to use the raise hand feature when we get to the open Q&A. I only ask that you turn your camera on if you would like to ask a question out loud with the raise your hand feature. I think that covers all the housekeeping. Dave, take it away. Tell us what you've been working on. Tell us about this report.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the forum here and the center's work to bring folks from so many different backgrounds together across the state. I'll just say that our work is rooted in the community, in the sense that we need to hear from people who use government services to know where the problems are, and very often to learn the ways that we can fix them. So the work that you all do to bring so many different perspectives into the conversation is actually critical for us to be able to be effective as well. So thank you all for that. Really appreciate the opportunity to share what we're up to here. As Joe mentioned, we have a new report. It's our second annual report measuring the impact of our work across the state government. And we like to hold ourselves accountable by releasing not only what we've been working on, but the actual changes and effects that we believe that that's had on folks' lives in New Jersey. So I want to talk about that. But because we are a relatively new office in the state, I figured I'll start just by giving you a brief background on who we are and what we've been up to. We're rooted in a fundamental principle that effective government service matters. We turn to state government as citizens, as residents, in times of great uncertainty and great need. And so when that happens, we all depend on the government to be efficient, but also effective, to deliver on its promises, and to make sure that when folks are having a hard time, they need assistance, they need support, that there is a shared social resource that can push people forward, get everybody back on their feet. We believe this is an engine of economic as well as social progress. So the way that we try to contribute to this mission here in the state is to focus on the use of technology, on the use of improving the way government works, process improvement, to help deliver better results for residents and businesses. Our office was established in 2018 by Governor Murphy, and the mission is to deliver improved government services for businesses, for residents and institutions across the state using technology that is efficient, effective, and equitable. We do measure our success, as I've mentioned, along the way. And so we're focused on how many people can we serve? How are we saving them time? How are we saving them money? How are we reducing bureaucratic hurdles that they might have to go through? In this impact report, we'll cover many of those metrics. Our team is focused on bringing talent into the state as well to do this work. So we have folks who have backgrounds in high-tech companies, in policy, in communications and marketing, and private sector and government, who come together to work together on this mission to improve the lives of New Jerseyans here in the state. There are a couple things that are unique about how we work in government that I just wanted to highlight. The first, again, is that we are very human-centered. And what this means for us is that we want to be listening to folks. We want to be working on designing and developing solutions, not just for, but with the residents in our community so that they have a seat at the table to influence the way that their government works. And we try to do this by staying very connected to community-based organizations, by hosting frequent sessions for research participation with residents where they can come and give us a direct opinion or experience that they've had using state services. And the other principle is that we are very focused on being agile and iterative. When we develop things, we want to make sure that we are constantly measuring the performance of those things and that they are improving over time, not just building something over the course of years, throwing it out into the public and then letting it sit. We believe that the programs that we help support should be living and breathing and improve as we learn more about the needs of our communities. Since 2018, there have been some large efforts that we've been a part of that we're very proud and wanted to just share to give you a sense of the kinds of things that we work on. Working with our friends at the Department of Labor, we helped build a new tool for mothers to be to plan maternity leave. The state has a nation-leading program for paid family leave, but we wanted to make sure that people understood how they could best take advantage of it, how the benefits work. Over 150,000 families have used this now to help plan for leave. We've also helped 250,000 folks get personal career recommendations using mycareer.nj.gov, also with the Department of Labor. This is a tool that analyzes resumes, trends in labor data, and training information to help recommend ways that you can get ahead in your career. And we've also built a hub for residents with the Department of Human Services for residents with disabilities. And so there are over 200 programs now that are represented in one place. It's been used by over 135,000 folks. And this is really designed to focus on accessibility, to simplify the way that folks can get access about the state programs that might be able to help them. And it includes unique features in the state, such as ASL video-based translation. So for folks who use ASL, they'll be able to actually watch some of the key content in video modules on the page. And as we've discussed here, we have a new impact report out. So some of the things I've highlighted have been over the last couple of years. Let me just highlight a couple things from this year from the impact report to give you a sense of what we've been up to over the last couple of months. We designed this report around a couple areas that we feel are high priority for the state and wanted to focus just on 4 today. The first is making sure that we're feeding kids, getting food assistance out, helping folks access and reach the government, empowering people to create jobs in the New Jersey economy, and responsibly leveraging the power of new technology like generative AI to deliver better services for residents. So first, we partnered with the Department of Agriculture to roll out the state's first program for a summer electronic benefits program, basically the equivalent of the school meals program over the summer. And the purpose is simply to help families get food assistance when schools are out, when they can no longer get access to the free breakfast or lunch that they might get at schools. The program works by providing eligible families with a $120 benefit on a debit card that they can access. The challenge with a program like this, though, is that families can be eligible based off of applying or being a part of the school meals program during the year, but they may also be eligible by being a part of other programs like SNAP, Medicaid, TANF in the foster system. And so there's a whole bunch of other criteria that can help families get access to the program, but each of those programs is run differently. Each of those programs has different databases. They're managed by different agencies. So we were very fortunate to be brought in early by the Department of Agriculture and the other agency partners to help work on this challenge about how do we take enrollment information from these various programs and bring them together so that we could find every family who should be eligible and make sure that they receive their benefits. All told, we were able to identify another 96,000 kids just this year, on top of about 150,000 beneficiaries that were enrolled last year. And this brings the total of about $24 million of federal benefits that have been brought to New Jersey families through our efforts in partnership with the agencies that we work with to find more folks in those programs and to make sure that they received the benefits for which they were eligible. The next area to focus on is helping folks access and reach the government. We've designed a new modernized call center platform. I'm sure everybody has lived this experience when you call to reach for help, whether it's government or even in the private sector. It can be hard to find agents. It could be hard to get access to the folks that you need to. And often when we reach for the phone to make a call, it's at the point of frustration where we haven't been able to find answers through other means. So it's very important that we can connect people to the agents who can help them as efficiently as possible. I can also say from spending hours in the call centers across multiple programs with the agents that it is a very challenging job on their side too. They're dealing with some of the most difficult, tricky scenarios that people experience in their lives. And to a person, every single one that I've met truly wants to help and is working very hard to do so. So the technology here bridges that gap to make it as simple as possible for folks to connect with agencies and the agents within the different agencies. To give you an example of what this platform has enabled, we've now rolled it out to over 13 different call centers at the state. It takes what it has been an average of over 30 minutes of wait time and drops it down to 2 by offering things like dynamic callbacks, where people can leave a number, get called back in the order in which they were entered onto the list at a time when they're ready. That has also enabled us to reach, in some call centers, 6, in some call centers, as many as 15% more connections between residents and agents. So on high demand days when people couldn't actually reach in, we were able to when we reach into the call centers, we were able to make sure that more people could connect just by a more efficient routing. So there's a lot of technology, there's some artificial intelligence behind the scenes, but really what this is about is making sure that people can actually reach the agents when they need to and get answers to their questions so that they can move on, get access to those programs that they are entitled to and that can help move them forward in their life. Just briefly to touch on 2 last points, we work extensively with our business communities. I know many folks on this call likely work with small business owners across the various communities in New Jersey to run Business.NJ.gov. It's a central platform for business licensing and permitting. We believe it's helped save people a significant amount of time in enrolling and getting to that first payroll, being able to hire and grow their staff and their employees to generate more economic activity. And we're very proud of the fact that through the marketing efforts that we put in place for this program, we've also been able to significantly increase outreach into underserved communities across the state, a 23% increase in users from zip codes that have been deemed as having larger populations of underserved folks through really targeted specific marketing efforts there. And lastly, as many folks I'm sure are thinking about in your own work, we have been working to position the state to take advantage and to be prepared for artificial intelligence. This is a responsible first approach, which means we start with training the state employees to know not only what is AI and how can you use it, but to understand the constraints of what it is and isn't good at, to understand things like the data that goes into training AI, so that we understand that when we use AI, it is built off of information that in self might have inherent biases, and that we need to manage for those. We need to control for those and make sure that we're not allowing some of the technology's inherent flaws to shape the work. But even with those constraints, we've been able to find ways to expand the awareness of generative AI, prepare the state workforce to take advantage of this new and emerging technology, but to do so in a cost-effective way, in a way that improves service delivery across the board. Happy to share examples on any of these or any of the other topics, as well as take any questions about our work generally. But again, thank you all for the opportunity to share what we're up to with you.
Thank you. I have a bunch of questions. We have one in the chat already. Oni says, about 32% of New Jersey residents speak a language other than English. How does your office ensure that government information, especially regarding the programs you mentioned, is available and translated or interpreted? And can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned a lot about accessibility for people with disabilities, which I have questions about, which I think is fantastic. That accessibility extends to people who speak English as a second or a third language. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to translation, interpretation, and accessibility for those folks?
Absolutely. We consider language access to be a first priority amongst accessibility generally. As folks probably know, the state now has a public law requiring vital information to be translated into the state's top languages. So wherever we're working with agencies, we work to make sure that they are meeting that obligation. But before the law, we had a particular focus on language access and translation dating back to some of our earliest work supporting COVID-19.NJ.gov, building out response tools for the COVID-19 pandemic, And since that point, we've had folks on staff who speak particularly Spanish natively and have been working with contractors to translate beyond that. We've put in place, in partnership with the Office of Information Technology, some tools that do machine translation as a starting point so that we can get to more languages using some of the best technology that's available. But we view that as a starting point only and not necessarily sufficient. So whenever we have information that is critical, we also want to make sure that there's a human editing and a human translation layer on top of what the artificial intelligence or machine translations can do. So it is a part of the work that we do and something that we appreciate the state's posture on and look forward to supporting as well.
Excellent. Regarding the AI stuff, number one, I was wondering if you could share. I was looking through the impact report. I didn't get a chance to finish the entire thing, but I was wondering if there were any specific tools that you explored or used. I know it doesn't mention any specific tools or platforms or models, but obviously the model that you choose, as you mentioned, is trained on data that is biased by nature of what's included, what is included the most. What was your office's approach to selecting a model? Did you use a local one, an open source one, or can you share more information about that process there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first priority was making sure that we had a training for government that deals with government use cases that we could make available to the state workforce. That training program is model agnostic. It talks about the general principles of what is generative artificial intelligence, how is it made, what do you need to think of when using it, and what might good use cases look like at this point in time. So we rolled out a 90-minute training program to the entire state workforce through the Civil Service Commission. That's available. That's been available now for over a year. We've also then worked to pair tools with the training so that people have access to technology to actually get hands-on experience using generative artificial intelligence in a way that is safe and that leans into the principles that we are pushing for. So the tool that we built, we call it the New Jersey AI Assistant. It looks and works similar to a ChatGPT or a Claude-style chatbot, but it's launched on state infrastructure. So you have to log in with a state account. It's run through the Office of Information Technology, so all the data is secure within their IT infrastructure, and we make sure that we focus on all the state's kind of needs around data privacy and security. So that was a second priority. First, training. Second, make sure that we have privacy and security controls that we would build for any IT system in place, particularly for one like this. And then the next layer on top of that is that, again, working with the state CTO and the cybersecurity group at NJKIC, we put together an acceptable use policy. And so this is a document that is really intended to be plain language, helping guide folks in the state about ways that we encourage with the use of generative artificial intelligence or things to be concerned about. It includes a review process to make sure that the right chains of command are signing off on the use case. It also has a lot of FAQs. So again, plain language guides to really make this practical. We didn't want to take an approach where we prohibit people from using the technology, because the reality is very often that doesn't work, and people will find ways to use it that may inherently be less secure or with less training. So we wanted to really lean into the technology, but do so with these extra controls in place as well. So if you're interested in more of the technology details, the AI Assistant currently is powered by the latest OpenAI's GPT model through a Microsoft Azure instance. So it is within a controlled space. And we've worked with some of the Claude models as well, including Sonnet and Opus, the latest versions there. The specific models, I think, really depend on the use case. And that's something that when we work with agencies, we help try to understand what they're trying to do and make suggestions or recommendations on which models might be best fit.
Excellent. We Diego from the Latino Index has a question, but I noticed he's driving. So Diego, I'm going to unmute you. You don't have to worry about touching the phone. You're unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to ask you, you spoke about the COVID-19 translations. I was part of doing our own work in getting the governor's COVID-19 briefings in Spanish simultaneously translated. And we received almost 1.7 million views. It was very difficult to get that information to our people, because our people are basically working. They're not on state websites. They're not in those platforms. So my question to you is, and my company tried several times to to get the office of the governor to work with us to do simultaneous interpretation of his briefings. It was impossible. We got roadblocked, and we were told that Univision and that it was marketing, and basically flat out no. We got that response. Going forward with the new administration, do you see any possibility for this administration coming to have communities being informed at that same time, simultaneously have interpretation that is done for the 20% population of New Jersey?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I wasn't aware of the live translation issue that you're raising, but I can say in a previous life working in the federal government, we had a similar need, and we dealt with this on behalf of the White House, where we had to support we wanted to support multiple languages in live translation. So again, not familiar with the specific case there that happened in COVID, but I appreciate your point and why it's valuable. So I'll carry it forward if we have conversations with the new team about that as the request that's come. And if you want to connect with me after this too about ways that you've seen that work well, be happy to hear more.
Thank you very much. We have another question from an attendee. Most of the report focuses on statewide metrics. Can you share any data or insights about how some of the initiatives you've enacted perform differently across North Jersey versus South Jersey versus Central Jersey, whether urban, suburban, or rural communities are experiencing equal benefits from these programs? And what are your findings?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And I think we could probably provide you with some specific data if the person who's asking the question wants to follow up and let us know your coverage area. We do from time to time look at the county distribution. We look at, depending on the program, municipal distribution. This was a very large focus during COVID. The work that I was most directly involved in was helping, if folks can remember back to the early days of the pandemic when the vaccine was first available, it was actually very hard to get a vaccine appointment because there was so much demand, pent-up demand for folks who either needed it through their work or because of a medical condition were eligible in the beginning. So we wanted to make sure that we were reaching all communities equally and putting a focus on communities that might have less transportation access or other barriers to being able to get the vaccine as well. So we did look very closely at individual zip codes of where vaccination rates were taking place. We looked at additional campaigns, whether it was digital marketing efforts. We put a lot of effort and time into that, as well as community outreach through faith-based organizations and community groups to try to reach folks that we might not have otherwise had direct access. So those are some of the tactics that we've used. And if there's a request for specific data on a given area, I'd be happy to take a look at that as well. Some of our projects are inherently geographically based. One that we featured in this report is the Transportation Needs Index, which looks again at municipal level data on the transportation infrastructure and the opportunity there to make improvements. It's been in the hands of county officials. I know folks at Middlesex in particular have taken a look at how that might improve some of the service delivery in their county.
So thank you. I have a question. So the report mentions partnerships with county agencies like Middlesex and Passaic. And I'm sure you've partnered with other county and municipal governments to bring these sorts of tools and initiatives and approaches to their local services. I wonder if you could talk about what kind of resources you provide to local government to local government innovators. And as there are a lot of hyperlocal publications and reporters on this call, as members of the press part of their responsibility is to help share useful information and resources with their local communities, particularly those who speak languages other than English. I wonder if you could talk about those kind of local partnerships and give us a sense of what kind of initiatives we should be looking for as local reporters in our communities, and what we should keep an eye out for. What do those partnerships look like, and how can we extend that, or at least tack onto that from the local reporter perspective? Or just what has your experience been working with local agencies?
Sure. Many of the programs that we work on, and I think as folks here will know, that the state may manage in some way are delivered at the local level. So when we work on unemployment insurance, for instance, there's a local component to that. There are local field offices that provide unemployment insurance access for folks. So usually in a given program, we're looking for who is the point of service, who is going to be interacting with the resident, and often that's a county office, could be an office that has a regional distribution. And so we'll work with the folks who are in those offices in a number of ways. Usually first, as I mentioned in the intro, is just to get to know them and understand the challenges from their perspective. What are you hearing day in and day out in the office, or what are people calling about? That can give us a really good starting point on some of the challenges that we might be able to help with. We have worked, as I mentioned, in transportation, in some of that work with health and human services, with labor, to try to figure out how can we provide better support for counties as well. I'll give you a very timely example. As folks know, we have been for the last little over a week in a state of emergency due to the expiration of SNAP benefits, which is a very challenging moment in time for folks, particularly because in many parts of New Jersey over the last week, for all or part of the week, schools have been closed as well. So students weren't able to get access to the food assistance that they might get through the schools. Counties stepped up, offered emergency assistance through new distribution centers, through temporary food pantries and mobile venues. But to get that information out is hard. So the counties push that information out. We built, in partnership with the various state agencies that were working on this, a way for people to go to the state website and find a local food site where they could get assistance, regardless of whether that was from a county, something that a food bank, food pantry set up directly. Our approach is to make it as simple as possible when we have that information from various sources for people to access. So the partnership there with the counties is understanding what they're doing and try to make the effort to promote their work as low as possible, because they're also setting up this infrastructure and have a lot to do. So we take lists from them, we do all the processing and posting of that on our own. We've also had much more general sort of ad hoc work with counties and local governments, where a mayor reached out and said, we're trying to improve our procurement processes so we can get access to more innovative technology. What's happening at the state that we might learn from? We had a conversation about that. We've had several conversations with folks around how to leverage some of the artificial intelligence tools that are out there to better improve service delivery as well. As you can probably imagine, there are many, many companies lining up to pitch tools, and sometimes the hard part is cutting through the noise to know what questions should we be asking to know what's real, or what might just be not ready for adoption yet. So we're always happy to talk with local governments, county governments, to see how we might be able to support, because that partnership, I think, is really important.
I want to hear more about what those questions that you ask, as someone who is constantly like fending off vendors and cold emails that are indistinguishable from scams most of the time. What do you look for when you get that cold email? What are the red flags? What are the green flags? How do you sift through all that noise to find the signal for these companies? And what's your approach?
Yeah. So I'll give away the secret, and then we'll figure out who can find a way to navigate through it in the inbox. But so the main thing that we're going to focus on at the beginning is just fairness in the process for buying technology. So we'll consider pitches that come in, but in a sort of general way. So if someone might reach out with a technology that they're pitching, I think what we'll try to do is file those and say, okay, we've heard from a certain company, here's the thing that they might be able to help with. But we're usually not led by the pitches and the problems that we're trying to solve. As I think folks can imagine, in technology, things move very fast. And so it's very easy to get distracted by the latest thing, by the shiny object that's coming through. There could be really great solutions out there that folks have developed. But for us, we want to start with the problem coming from what residents are truly experiencing and stay focused on that. So we'll build an index of pitches and potential solutions that come in to refer back to when we have a problem that fits, but we don't let the inbounds determine what the problems are that we need to solve. I think that's actually been a very critical part of focus and effort that helps us be able to do the work that we can do. If we do get into a conversation around pitch, too, one of the first things, just speaking personally, I look for, is there something to show? Is there an actual product that the person presenting it is comfortable operating and using on their own? If we're in a pitch and most of the conversation is around white papers and slides, I'm probably going to be left wondering what actually is there versus is the kind of theory of what they're trying to offer. So that's something that we'll coach folks into. But I think maybe the area where we can be most helpful, with supporting state agencies, many times they have an idea of the kinds of tools that they're looking for, and we need to go in reverse and start shopping around to what can we actually purchase or license as a government. And so we've helped advise agencies on tactics or sort of methodologies for designing and building government technology. One thing that I think we have found to be a near universal truth, and it's backed up by a lot of research on this point, is that very large projects tend to fail more, and smaller projects have a higher degree of success. There's a Standish report, consulting group report from, I think, it's a little old now, around 2015. If I remember the numbers correctly, projects over $2 million have something like a 20% success rate, less than 20% success rate of being on time and on budget. If you cut that in half, you actually radically increase the chances of getting the project done. So really the things that we'll advise and work with an agency on is how can we take a problem and break it down? How can we think about it as parts, as components, and start to approach those things one at a time so that we know that something's working and never end up in a situation where we have a very large, expensive multi-year project that ends up failing because it just wasn't designed or managed in the right way. I can get into specific examples if folks want to go down that path. There's a lot of nuance there, but just having a strategy for how you manage projects in an agile, iterative fashion with real feedback coming in as you're building from residents and the users of service is absolutely essential to delivering on this kind of work.
My colleague Oni has a question.
Thanks, Joe. You mentioned earlier about AI, and AI really poses a very unique challenge to immigrant communities because of language barriers. Most of them depend their firsthand information on social media. Also, a lot of them, their cultural values are being exploited. I know you said that your office tried to strengthen cybersecurity. You leverage data and technology, you improve public service, but we wanted to hear specific actions. What has your office done to mitigate this? As you know, consumer scams and fraudulent activities are continued to proliferate in this state, and billions of dollars have lost already, mostly people of color and immigrants. So if you can elaborate more on those specific actions that you've done, your office has done since you took office.
Yeah, I appreciate, I think there are multiple points only wrapped up in that, and I appreciate them. The unfortunate reality is with a technology like AI that makes it so much easier to generate information, generate content, folks reach to use that technology to exploit folks and to exploit people. And the people who often get exploited first are the ones who might have less access to information, or, as you've mentioned, language barriers or other barriers that prevent them from having the same level of data and information to scrutinize what they're getting. So I think it's a fundamental premise that we are thinking about in our work. The ways that we're specifically involved in this, our office supports other agencies. So we have had conversations and worked with the Attorney General's office to provide technical analysis to their efforts to crack down within the existing legal framework on fraudulent uses or issues that might be exploiting residents. We have worked to make sure that through the training programs that we address these specific issues, like the sources of data that in part are scraping content across the internet might have inherent biases that are represented by the things that people write on the internet. I think you raised also an interesting and important point as well around exploitation of communities, of cultural resources. I would extend that to intellectual property generally. And so these are things too that we want people to be aware of, so that when they're using the technology, the main point of using generative AI in the training is that as a state employee, as an official representing the state, we take responsibility for our use of it and for the outcomes and the outputs of it, just as we would, if we introduce a bias in our work using, non-AI technology or just generally in our work, we're responsible for that and need to be held accountable for it. The AI doesn't make that easier. In fact, it can actually make it harder. So part of this really is focused on training the full broad population awareness. That is not just the virtual training that I mentioned, but also we've supported live trainings in office with staff to go through more nuanced questions. If you have a program that is focused on benefits delivery, for instance, we will advise that you're not using personally identifiable information in the analysis of anything related to AI. As an example, using somebody's name might have cultural indication or significance that triggers some sort of inherent bias in the training data that then can bias the results of what you're using it for. So we would not recommend AI for benefits determination. We would not recommend using names or even location data were not at all necessary, because it might introduce potential biases that the person using technology wouldn't even be aware of or thinking of. But because there could be information that connects with that individual's identity or their location, that we just need to be very mindful and careful of that. And it's not just also being careful when we have our processes for approving technology use through our acceptable use policy. Again, we're asking these questions about what information is going into the model. Is it personally identifiable? Does it need to be because it's material to benefits determination? Could it have cultural or other significant signifiers that need to be removed? That's all part of the review process that goes into this as well. But I will say too that I think we and anybody else doing this work needs to be very open-minded and aware that no approach is perfect. And so we're constantly trying to learn through staying in touch with folks in the communities, through organizations that are really digging into AI safety and advocating for better government posture regulation, so that we learn and can push for those changes internally as well. So if you or anybody on the call has ideas or things that you think that the state should be doing, I'd be very interested in hearing those as well.
I appreciate that. And again, we will include Dave Cole's office contact information so that you can follow up. And if we have permission, we'll also share your emails so that the office can reach out. I'm very happy to hear you talk about the concerns or the wariness around basically letting a machine or letting an entity that is incapable of taking accountability for mistakes make decisions that can have material impacts on actual human beings' lives. We're seeing, unfortunately, that sort of maxim thrown to the wind at the national level, whether it is using AI to determine healthcare outcomes or coverage decisions, criminal justice applications, God forbid, drone strikes, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the mentality in not just in your office, but in the Murphy administration, and then what your sense has been with the incoming Sherrill administration about whether or not they share those same human-focused concerns and hesitancy around, letting something make decisions that can't be put in jail if somebody dies as a result?
Yeah, I can speak from the work with the current team, I think more clearly. I can only offer probably what you will have seen publicly for the incoming administration, but I do believe generally there's a strong alignment and awareness and sensitivity to those issues. It's just not something that we've had an opportunity to discuss yet with the transition team. So I don't want to put anything out there that's presuming to speak for them. Actually, Joe, I want to make sure I'm going to address your question specifically. Do you mind just resetting it for me?
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, the concerns about handing over decision making to a tool or an entity that is incapable of itself being held accountable for the mistakes. And I don't remember the exact quote, but machines can't make decisions because machines can't go to jail for the outcomes of those decisions or can't be held accountable. And I'm very happy to hear that that's your approach, at least at some level, maybe not verbatim of the way that I said it. But I wanted to know, do you have a sense? Is it just your office that thinks this? Are there areas where we should be concerned or focus on or pay special attention to where these kind of trends are leaning more towards handing off that decision making? Or is the administration, as far as you can tell, generally on board with that notion that at the very least there should be multiple humans involved as the backstop, as the final backstop?
Yes. So that is our written policy and a policy that anybody using technology on behalf of the state is held to, which is that decision making needs to be human reviewed. So I can give you some general examples, but we've seen folks use AI to analyze public comments coming in on rulemaking, right? And in those cases, the public comments might come from individuals, they might come from interest groups, from industry. As you can imagine, there can be a ton of volume in those comments. And people manually have to go through and parse out themes and trends and tabulate all that. AI can help by taking the source information and giving you a first draft of a summary. But to use AI in that case and then say that we're done summarizing, we've understood the public sentiment, is not sufficient. There needs to be somebody who then does a human review. And the human review includes checking the source information along with the outputs, making edits, and taking responsibility for that outcome. So we found that, I think the very simplistic way that it's been described generally is like a very extensive autocomplete. It can help you with that, but it's not a final product by any measure. In any cases where we've seen it used for analyzing information that could go into making determinations about individuals, those also have multiple reviews. Usually there's somebody reviewing at the beginning, somebody reviewing the outputs, and somebody who's essentially redrafting and putting out information based off of the human draft. The AI is just used to help summarize. I have not heard of, and I'm really just trying to think of a single use case where we've even had to push an agency away from this. I think there's a lot of sensitivity currently within the state around not wanting AI to be driving too much decision-making, not using it to replace jobs. Those have never been our priorities in this administration and the state's posture right now. It's really about helping improve the way people get access to information. I can give you, more examples too on how we've done that, but one that always comes to mind is one of the first. I'll use a program like Department of Labor. I think they've spoken publicly about this. They have for unemployment insurance dozens, if not 100 communications that go out to individual claimants throughout the course of applying for UI. These are letters, very often in print, that are very official, very often written from a perspective of a legal analysis or a policy position where the goal seems more to be to make sure that people understand the risks and the potential constraints about the program, not to help guide them to how to effectively answer the question. And so working with Department of Labor, we've been able to take some of those notices, run them through a series of AI prompts like simplify this language, put it in plain language, tell me the top 3 things I need to be able to do next, and redesign communications that are much more human-centered and simple. They still go through the same legal review. The attorneys, the policy folks still need to sign off and say, yes, this is an accurate communication. It meets the standards that we would have had with the old draft. But it's written in a way that, we have found and tested this, people generally understand. It's improved, I think, by something like 30%. People surveyed say that they understand what to do next, having received the new communication from the old communication. And so ultimately, using AI, a human could do that, and we've done that on our team throughout all of our projects. But the AI helps us scale from, doing one a week or, getting through a pretty slow cadence of being able to tackle all those to being able to handle much more of the volume, scale to cover much more of the program and try to fix much more of the issues. Still with that human review. Right now, we're shifting our focus really to the human review effort more than the initial content generation. So, it's a balance, but where we have seen the best use cases, we're really pushing to improve communications, to improve clarity, maybe to simplify and summarize information, but not in any way to make any final decisions. And as I said, our state policy is that the individual staff members are responsible for the technology and the use of the technology and the outcomes of it.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I know that's just something that's been on a lot of people's minds when it comes to these kind of tools. And anytime that anybody starts talking about food assistance or security or healthcare, and the words AI get thrown in there, all the red flags go up. A bit of a change of topic here. We have a last question here. It looks like Diego might also have one after this, but one of the attendees asked. Oh, we have one from Mary Veer as well. This is a question emailed from our partner news outlet. ICE employs various advanced technologies to track and locate immigrants, particularly relying on data aggregation, biometric surveillance, and location monitoring. What's your office's response to this, and what is your collaboration like with DHS? Are you guys working together, or are you, what's the deal with that?
We have no connections with DHS at the federal level at all. I don't know in any way in which we would ever support something like those efforts. I think the governor, the attorney general have been very clear in protecting residents' rights within the state to the fullest extent possible within state law. And we would certainly support those efforts. We work with the DHS at the state level, which has no connection to the federal DHS, right? It's Homeland Security in a different sense. And their focus is primarily on cybersecurity. So reviewing technology, protecting consumers from fraud through scams by making sure that the technology we use meets our degrees of privacy and security standards as well. But I just want to clarify that if folks see anything mentioned about our work with the Department of Homeland Security at the state level, it's not connected with immigration or any enforcement actions there.
Thank you. Mary Veer Montalban has a question. How is the New Jersey government affected with Trump's recent pronouncement to roll back SNAP benefits in defiance of court orders? What is New Jersey doing about this, and how are they responding?
Well, immediately the governor called a state of emergency so the full state could mobilize to help support during what was a very difficult time, as I mentioned before. In New Jersey, we were particularly hard hit because of a conflation of events. The fact that generally across the state, public schools were closed Thursday and Friday last week, meant more food insecurity for folks who have students that might have been receiving meals through the school. And some districts have been closed even longer, all of last week, some bleeding in the next couple of weeks. So the state of emergency allowed the Office of Emergency Management, Department of Homeland Human Services, the Attorney General, all different parts of the state to work together to support counties, to support food banks, food pantries, the local community organizations getting assistance out to make sure that we could have an approach that gets food to the people who need it as a first pass. The Human Services Department probably could give you a lot more detail in exactly all the things that they mobilized. EDA also was a part of this. So there's many public announcements too about how they were able to release, probably in record time, grant funding to support the organizations that were providing food assistance on the ground as well. So I'd refer folks to EDA, to DHS, to Governor's Office to get the details on what the state of emergency response has been like overall. But I will say, from our perspective, we were able to pull some of the lessons learned from the COVID pandemic state of emergency into the response here, such as making sure that we had a single website that was available for those who were looking for information at the state about what the state's doing in that response, and what, in plain language, was the situation for beneficiaries. Because again, as I'm sure everybody saw, certainly we did, the answer seemed to change hour by hour about what was permitted and what was not. New Jersey was able to get the payments out to all the cards last Friday. And I know that there's active legal processes running now about the federal position on those payments. But from our perspective, it really has been making sure that people could get access to food, healthy food, quickly, as efficiently as possible, given the emergency. And I know that Governor's Office, DHS, Attorney General, the various folks have been working very aggressively to make sure that New Jersey is protected, and that we have a way to reverse course and make sure that these benefits are sustained going forward for folks.
Diego, you have a final question for Mr. Cole?
Okay, thanks again. I just wanted to find out, how could the small companies that we manage, ethnic media, in the ethnic media industry, how can we get contracts? Because less than 1% of the small companies, and primarily ethnicities, get any contracts to do work for the state.
Yeah, this would be a good one where we can give you some specific follow-ups. I know most of the media-related efforts go through a state contract where there are vendors that are already on bid. So probably the two strategies would be to make sure, if you're not, that you're a part of that contract and could be getting access to those mini bid opportunities. And then in the interim, to find out who is on those contracts to partner with them, because they certainly should be working with your organizations to have more diverse outreach in their strategy. So I think we can provide some information if those are things that you haven't seen yet about which companies have that prime contract that you could potentially be subbing or working with, and how you would get into the next pool when it's recompeted as well. But yeah, we'll follow up with you if you want to send us an email on that, and if you have more specific ideas or things you're seeing that you'd like to be involved in, let us know, and we'll do what we can to support it.
Thank you. And Diego, yeah, we'll send you the follow-up email and everything. We'll have Dave's contact information as well. We have one more question from Jungwon. It says, many Korean business owners are suffering and having trouble with filing state-required documents and applying for licenses due to their lack of legal resources and language barriers. Do you or your office, I know you touched on this a little bit, do you or your office have any plans to provide New Jersey AI assistance services for small businesses and immigrant owners who need to file simple forms or applications?
If it's okay, I'd love to actually have a connection, with you and the folks who run our Business.NJ.gov platform to see the specific kinds of businesses that you might be seeing. We have over 300 different guides on how to register businesses, but if there are types of those guides that are most relevant to the Korean community, we could take a look at what we could do for additional outreach, whether that's events, additional translation support. So we'd love to maybe do a follow-up conversation on that specifically. And then for AI support for businesses, We've had some ad hoc conversations when folks have asked. Generally, if people reach out to us and ask for time, we'll have the conversation, see what we can do to help. We don't have any sort of direct training programs for private organizations at this point, but we'll certainly do what we can to refer. We are aware of lots of publicly available training programs that are out there. Maybe refer some connections on things that could be good there. But yeah, I would love, just for this particular question or anybody else who's thinking similarly, if we could get some conversations with our team who are building out these platforms and you about what your communities are looking for, we can try to help provide the right materials and see about events or additional training we can do.
Excellent. Dave, before we let you go, any major changes that we can expect from your department with the incoming Governor Sherrill?
No, I think we're very excited to support the governor-elect and her team coming in. They had a focus on customer service, a focus on cutting red tape to make it easier to operate and grow businesses in the state throughout their campaign. These are both things that our team, I think, is very well positioned to support. So we would, regardless of the winner, be standing by to support a transition team. And so I think now that one's settled, we're waiting for that opportunity to help assist them when they need it. So excited to see what's ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Thank you to everybody on the call. Again, I've said it before, but you'll receive a recording. Yes, my cat is with me. He wants to say thank you as well. We've got a recording, a transcript, and an auto-translated transcript in Spanish. So look for that email from me once the recording is done processing. We do these press briefings once a month. We do have, I believe we have one coming up next month about environmental justice in New Jersey. So stay tuned and check our Eventbrite and centerforcooperativemedia.org for that. We will send the contact information for Dave Cole's office. Thank you again, Dave, for spending the time with us and being so open. And I've also posted links to the impact report and a notebook LM to stick with the AI theme there that you can dive deeper and ask questions of the report. So you'll get all those links and more in the email from me. Thank you again. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.